Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pails, steel-toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure. Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I pull the John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
Okay, everybody, welcome into the Garden Report Sunday night edition. Marcus Smart return edition of the Celtics defeat the Memphis Grizzlies in a blowout, I think, as we all expected, 131-91. This was about as lopsided of a talent discrepancy as I think you'll ever see in the NBA. There's been a lot of blowouts over the years, but this was one of those games where you could just watch and see that there was one team that is playing for a championship, and there's one team that I think we're looking to fill the roster outside the TD Garden earlier today. Sherrod and Bobby, welcome in. Obviously, the big story tonight is not the Celtics win. It is old friend Marcus Smart. Look at Sherrod. Look at Sherrod smiling, grinning from ear to ear. His buddy's back.
My guy is back.
He's back. Marcus Smart made his return tonight to the delight of everybody in the TD Garden. A lot of Celtics fans there, but also a lot of Marcus Smart fans there, regardless of what jersey or I guess in this case what street clothes he's in. Not playing tonight due to the finger issue, and it's just been a tough year for him and the Grizzlies. But I want to bring in Bobby, who's inside the arena right now, and Sherrod, who's also inside the arena. But Bobby, we'll start with you because I know you got some places to be. Just thoughts on the return and what can you tell us from being there?
Yeah, I lived up to the hype. Obviously, him walking in, everybody all smiles, looking for him. Whenever they bumped into him, you just couldn't imagine a brighter look on anybody's faces. And he gave a great press conference before the game. We can dive into that as the show goes on. Some interesting comments were out there, but I was looking around for him before. I want to go talk to some guys on the Grizzlies side to see what it's been like being his teammate this year. And so I'm talking to John Gilliard, who's their point guard tonight. I feel a big pat on the shoulder. I'm like, oh, there he is. And then we walked over and did the press conference there. So it was cool. The ovation was massive after the tribute video. They did the Heroes Among Us for him tonight as well, which I thought was a really good idea. Obviously, he probably did about as much community work in Boston as any Celtic in recent memory, at least. So he was all high spirits. He walked into the locker room, greeted Tatum, greeted Horford. Even Phil Pressey, to just show how long he was with the Celtics, one of his first teammates. He had a long conversation with him in the Celtics room. And, right now he's just being patient with everything. Obviously, the season's been a disaster for Memphis. He's out for quite a while now with this finger injury. And, the one thing I'm interested in still, is he part of this team going forward? Obviously, all the reporting has been that he's going to stay. They're going to keep him for next year. He has another year left on his contract. But they get blown away if someone really wants to make him part of their playoff push. I don't know. Maybe you consider that if you're Memphis, especially. I mean, they have a little bit of a uphill battle to get where they want to in terms of contending here. And is he part of that long term? Ultimately, they'll have to ask that question at the deadline. I don't think he's going anywhere, but obviously he's been connected to the Lakers, been connected to the Bucks at this point. So it was good he got this return and without being moved. It stunk he didn't play, but this environment lived up to the hype. There's no doubt about it, Sherrod.
Yeah, I mean, you knew that he was going to get a pretty good ovation, but I don't think we could have expected it to be consistent as it was. I mean, there were the two standing ovations when there was a Hero Among Us and then the tribute video. But even throughout the game, there were times where the crowd really, they wanted to show him some love. And for Marcus, think about all that he experience both on and off the court in Boston, and for him to have a moment like this, a night like this, was really good to see. And as much as I know he's a competitor, it was kind of nice that he didn't play. so that there was no game dynamics that you would have to bake into the conversation. It could be all about his return and the love that he got from Celtics fans and the organization. I thought the Celtics did some really, really classy things. That Hero Among Us, that was really, that was really nice, really nice. And, me and Al Horford before the game, we were joking about whether Marcus would cry or not. And Al was like, oh, he's totally going to cry. You may not see it right away.
It looked like he was, Sherrod. He was kind of turned away.
Well, exactly. And that was intentional. Marcus, as soon as he saw it, you saw the back all of a sudden turn to where he knew the cameras were. Because, again, Marcus has been around the block. He knows his building. He knows where all the cameras are at. And he knows where they're not. They can't see his face. So he turned his back, looked at his bench. You could tell he was emotional. And that's good to see. Because that, to me, it embodied what he was as a player in Boston. He was a very emotional, high energy guy from the very beginning to the bitter end. And as the Celtics kind of progress and go on without Marcus, you can't help but understand and appreciate what he brought to this organization and how so many of the foundational elements of who they are were rooted in having a Marcus Smart around for 9 years. So it was great to see them show him the kind of love that I think he deserved based upon what he did as a player, both on and off the court here in Boston. And you wish him the best of luck health-wise, and you wish that team would play better. They were one of my sleeper teams this year, and I guess they've been asleep all damn season with injuries.
They've been in a coma.
Exactly. That is not quite how I envisioned it. But with all the injuries that they've had, though, it's understandable.
I mean, Sherrod, that starting lineup tonight: Gilliard, Pippen. Don't even know number 18's name.
Hey, Bobby, you know what? I was talking to some folks from the Grizzlies, and they were just like, there might be maybe 2 guys who played tonight who will not be in a summer league team. Maybe
this could literally be the starting lineup of the Memphis Hustle if all was right this year.
Well, we had that conversation too. This
gotta
was,
be like Isaiah Thomas can't get a 10-day on this Grizzlies. Like, there's got to be some guys out there with some NBA experience.
Well, you know what? At this point, Jimmy, they might as well just
lock up that top 10 pick. Lock up the top 10 pick. Damn, Isaiah Thomas would totally screw that up because he was single-handedly winning like 6 or 7 games that they have no business winning.
What do you think of the tribute, Jimmy?
Oh, the tribute was good. I just want to say this is a comment that we got here. Of course, no Xanis. He's not a Smart fan. This might shock a few of you watching. John Xanis isn't on the show tonight because he was at the game.
He was
as a fan. And I think I may have seen him on TV in a Marcus Smart jersey. I can't confirm that, but it looked like somebody looked right like him. He might have Marcus Smart jersey on.
So he was sitting right to the left of us here at the media section. He was in the section of the left here. And we look over in the fourth quarter, and we're like, where is he? And we look at the opposing baseline, and he's kind of like traipsing along like the Grizzlies sideline. I'm like, is he going to say hello to Marcus? But he was moving up. He was doing the classic move, Jimmy. Sneak up to some
he's trying
in the fourth quarter.
Wow, it's a veteran move. I'm surprised.
Well done.
The last thing John Xanis needs is better seats. I think the guy has had the best access of anybody in New England when it comes to sports moments. But, yeah, he's at the game tonight. And just goes to show that, and it's not just for John Xanis, but for everybody on this show, too. We've obviously been critical of Marcus Smart, just like we have with everybody. But that doesn't take away from our respect we have for him and our understanding of what he's done for the city, what he's done for the organization over the years, how difficult it was for them to make that decision to go ahead and trade him. And you just can see a classy organization in Boston putting together not only just the Celtics tribute, but what you said earlier, Sherrod, the hero among us. That's something that I don't think I've seen that when it comes to a player's making a return before. And Sherrod, you probably could back me up on that.
I don't think so. I don't think there has been anything like that. And the thing about Marcus, there's so many things I really, really loved about having him here. But I thought in his pre-game press conference, there was a moment that he got into that I think really it speaks to how he feels about the whole process. And that is, he had no issue with being traded. And in fact, he said on multiple occasions, he would have done the same thing.
That was unbelievable, wasn't it?
But you know what? The thing is, the point that he made, and it was the point that I had issue with too, was that they could have at least given him a heads up that this was coming. I mean, they literally went from like at 9 p.m. being told that the Brogdon deal was not going to happen till like 9:07. Marcus is gone. There was like literally, there was like no time elapsed between when they went from the deal that didn't plan out to this new deal. And Marcus, that was the only thing that he was a little sore about and hurt, was that he didn't get any kind of advance notice that they're looking to move him, because there's no way that deal came together as quickly as it did unless there was some preparation on the front end. And I think that was the thing that hurt him the most, that they were clearly open to the idea of moving him well before they pulled the trigger on that. There's no way you can pull the trigger, go from Brogdon trade falling apart to the Smart trade coming through just the way it did. There's no way.
Yeah, and of course, Zach Kleiman, Memphis' GM, said over the summer that Smart was a guy they were interested in a while, who they had conversations over for a while before that night. And as far as I know, I think the notice about the trade that Smart mentioned over the summer, too, when we talked to him right after the deal, I think that was a bit of a miscommunication. Now, I don't know exactly how it went down, but I don't think the Celtics ever unequivocally told him there's no chance you're being moved. Maybe it was like, nothing's in the works right now, or
I don't think that was his.
Right now.
Yeah, I don't think that was his issue. I think them telling him that, I don't think he's smart enough to know that's always possible. His issue, from my understanding, was that when they made the decision to move him, they just made the decision. Yeah, they. I mean, a simple text saying, "Hey, buddy, look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the Brogdon thing fell apart, and Memphis really, really loves you, and we're gonna trade you. Give me a call," or something like that, to at least give him because I think for Marcus, part of the issue that he had was he gave 9 years to this organization, and yes, he was paid for it, but you look at the foundation that they're working with now. This is a team that when they're at their best, they're elite at the defensive end of the floor. Marcus had a lot to do with that. Marcus, there were many nights, you think back to those first few years, where he basically shamed his teammates into playing better defense because he was playing at such a high level. And it went from being shamed into playing great defense to an expectation that collectively you would play defense, at least whatever your capacity to play good defense was, you would at least come close to reaching that max potential. And Marcus brought that out of a lot of guys. And so I understand why he was a little bit, not happy with just being traded without any heads up, because he felt he had invested enough in his organization where he deserved that courtesy. So I get it. But at the same time, I go back to Bobby, what we were just talking about earlier, about him saying, I would have done the same deal if it were me. That is some serious, just kind of understanding who you are in this whole NBA ecosystem. Because, there's a lot of guys who would never say that I would trade me for anyone, even though you know damn well that they are like maybe fifth best player on their roster. And there's at least 50 guys that their team should trade them for if they could. So I like that just kind of really self-reflection that Marcus had about just his situation and understanding why Brad and the brass did what they did.
I think we have a clip here from Marcus talking. I'm going to give it a shot here and see if I know what I'm doing in action.
Oh, wow. I mean, it was, like I said, between getting married and the wedding and everything, excuse me, personally that I've been dealing with, it's helped me cope. It did, and it definitely hurt, but it didn't hurt as hard as I thought it would because of that. And like I said, I understand business and I understand this business, and I tell people to this day, if it was me, I'd make the same business decision as well. All I asked was that, could have gave a heads up or just a simple, hey, been here 9 years. We just want to let you know this is what's going on. Perfect. At the end of the day, I'm a businessman as well. And so that's what it was. The hurt really come from, but like I said, I was able to keep my mind off of it. There's no ill will towards the organization, towards my teammates, towards the coaching staff. I love everybody, and I'm thankful to have had the opportunity to play with those guys.
Right. And he's, what Marcus said there was consistent with what everything I heard from his camp over the summer or after the deal went down, that the deal itself didn't bother him. The fact that he didn't get any kind of advance warning after having been here for 9 years, that was going down. That was the issue that he had.
Yeah. And I guess that's like that's the ugly side of the business of basketball, right, Sherrod? And that's why, I think sometimes we need to understand that it goes two ways in sports. You know, sometimes the players get a lot of hate if they leave a team and if they choose another team in free agency. But just as quickly, they could be traded. So loyalty goes both ways, and I don't think Marcus Smart is saying that the Celtics aren't loyal to him. He's just saying that would have been nice to maybe have a little bit more of that. He probably feels that he was due that after
Yeah.
time here.
And I think that was, I think, his biggest issue, that he felt that based upon being here 9 years, that if you're going to cut me loose, give me a heads up.
Yeah.
If it would have happened during his second or third year or even fourth year, it's just like, yeah,
Right.
they did what they did. I haven't really invested much in this city, in this town, in this organization. But that was just the opposite. He had invested tremendously in this organization and this city and the people around here. And for him, I don't think it's out of the ordinary or frankly an outlandish request or desire that if you're traded, to give you a little bit of advance notice that you're about to be moved.
Right. Bobby, anything else on Smart? I know you wanted to get your thoughts in before you went back into the locker room, and I know you got to go talk to Joe, I think so.
Yeah, on that, I think what he told us, Sherrod, exactly when we talked to him over the summer, was that I knew I was going to get traded at some point. It wasn't going to be Brown or Tatum. So he didn't know exactly when it would be. He didn't know it would be so soon. But he always had an idea in his mind that guys don't spend the rest of their careers with a team quite the same way they used to. And he was prepared for it to come at some point. But it's obviously a lot of regret. They came close in 2022. They had a lot of long runs. He would have loved for him, Rob, Grant, all the guys that went out the door this summer to be part of what they were going to do eventually on this title run. But at the same time, I mean, the Celtics have kind of moved on. I mean, there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm for talking about him yesterday. It was more on focusing on winning this game and getting things right for this season. And it was great to see them do that tonight, winning by 40. There was a little run during the second quarter where it looked like it was going to get a little dangerous there, but they overall just took care of this team and walked out the door with a win here fairly easily. And it was funny. Down in Memphis, Smart gave them a big speech for what Santi Aldama said was 10 minutes before the game, trying to get them prepared for what the Celtics do and give them little tips and tricks for playing them. And I asked their coach before the game about that, and he was like, "Yeah, he did it again." So, that's Smart. Like, there was obviously a beloved side to him in that room, and then I think there was also an overbearing at times side to him in that room that, maybe his voice got a little bit tired in there. Maybe it was time for some new leaders to take over, namely Brown and Tatum. And they've obviously done a great job with that this year. I mean, there's never really been a point, thanks in large part to Drew Holiday, obviously, Jimmy, that we've said they need Smart right now. Like, they really miss him at this point. And, talking to some fans, we did a video tribute with some fans over on All Access. They kind of feel the same way. It's like, thank you for the 9 years, but it's probably time. And I think Smart probably feels similarly. Like, there's some regret that it couldn't work out, that it couldn't go the full way to the, entire career spent with that team. But it was a good run nonetheless. I think he ended up being, in terms of everything, the defensive identity, off the court, leadership, one of the more impactful guys of the last, 20-ish years here. And, I don't know if 36 is going up there, Sherrod. Probably not. But
no, Bobby. Well, I don't even know.
And I love Mark. Close. That's about as close as you can come to getting it.
Will 40 go up there too? If 36 goes up, Bobby's going to be asking
I'm
for 40.
out of here, guys.
We'll see you in a bit, maybe, hopefully, possibly. All right, we'll get more of your thoughts on the game when you come back, Bobby, because
he's not coming back.
Yeah,
he's not coming back, Jimmy. Stop lying to the people.
The number 40 Cornet talk scared him away. That's
it did. He was totally shook.
It was don't look at the box score if you're Luke Cornet tonight. That's one thing you probably don't want to do. But Sherrod, let's reset here. So we got Marcus Smart talk out of the way, and I know you guys probably have dinner plans with him later tonight. But regardless, there's a game aside from that, and again, like, we're not going to get too wrapped up in the fact that they won, because I think if they didn't win,
we have a very different conversation.
All hell might have broken loose tonight. But what can you take from this game? Were there players that stood out to you? Obviously, they did get to go to the bench tonight, more than a lot of games. So we got to see some more Queta. We got to see Jordan Walsh a little bit.
Right.
Hauser got 23 minutes, although he's kind of in a little bit of a up and down part of the season, you could say. But Aside from, listen, the obvious 34 from Tatum, he was on from start to finish tonight, and some really just, again, I said this earlier, it looked like a team of G Leaguers they were playing, and I think Tatum kind of got into that little bit of a groove, and he was feeling the flow out there, doing the bull dance. 6 of 12 from 3 and 34 points for him. But what else can you take from this one?
I think for the Celtics, the biggest takeaway for you from this, besides obviously getting the win, is the fact that you were able to get the win without having to significantly exert some of your core guys. I mean, Jaylen Brown did not play, which, for a game like this, you'd love for that to happen, to give him a full night off. And Tatum led everyone with like just under 31 minutes played. Everyone else played in the 20s or teens, which is great for a game like this where you are clearly better than your opponent in every way, shape, and form. Like I mentioned to you earlier, they were joking about how this Grizzlies team that we saw out here now, the majority of those guys are going to be on their summer league squad. And if that's what you're rolling out against the team with the best record in the NBA, guess what? You are going to get your ass kicked if they play even half as good as they're capable of. And again, the Celtics, this was not by any means their best game, and they still won by 40. It was just a matter of them literally deciding whether to turn it on and keep it on long enough to make this game a challenge. And they did that. If you're looking at individuals, I love how Porzingis just basically had a mismatch and they exploited it. I mean, the dude had 26 points.
It looked like bully ball.
It did. And in fact, Porzingis was like 10 for 17 shooting. And of those 7 misses, I would say at least 3 of those
right at the rim
shots that he should have made. And again, you start going down the roster of guys. I mean, Tatum obviously was great. I thought Queta did a lot of good things in his, we had 8 points in 9-10 minutes. O'Shea Brissett did, I thought, some positive things as well. You start going down the line, and this was just a good win against a team that you should be able to empty the bench. And as you mentioned earlier, Jordan Walsh.
Give it up for Jordan Walsh. First career points for Jordan Walsh. We got a lot of Walsh fans in the
I've
chat.
seen him play a couple of G League games, and I just got a feeling this is a guy that can help them now. I think
really?
I really think he's a guy. Now, I'm not talking about playing like 10, 50 minutes. I'm talking like giving you a good 3-4 minute stretch where he plays good defense, maybe forces a turnover, helps you spark like a 10-0 run or a 12-2 run by just his effort and energy. Doesn't score all those points, but does a lot of those little things that help you kind of get you going. I would love to see him thrown out there for 3, 4, 5 minutes every now and then. But to Joe Mazzulla's credit, though, he's got a very clear vision of what he wants this rotation to look like. And it's really hard to argue that he's wrong because they're winning and they're doing it now where he's not having to overexert his core guys to victory. This was a game that, again, and Tatum played 31 minutes, and that felt like it was probably maybe 4 or 5 minutes too much.
Yeah, he didn't
need to play that long. Right. But again, for me, it's like, these are the kind of problems that when you're trying to be a champion, you're going to have. You're going to have like, oh my gosh, we've got some really good players. I got to figure out how to cut back their minutes, or I got to figure out how to get guys who aren't playing a major role or significant role. How can I get them on the floor and put them in positions of impact where they can do things that can be a difference in the game and get them comfortable and confident that they can make a difference when they're out there. And that's, Joe, I think he's getting better at that. I don't think he's great at that yet, but he's definitely trending in the right direction as far as which buttons to push and levers to pull in order to get these guys, playing at a relatively high level.
I'm glad that you brought up Porzingis because I don't think we can talk about Marcus Smart's return and not talk about the guy that, came back in that deal. And I think tonight, again, another example of why that they had to make that trade, right?
Yeah.
When again, maybe Marcus Smart didn't get the call because they were like, okay, he's available. We got to strike. This deal's happening right now. We're doing it. And I don't think anybody would take it back. That's for sure. Knowing what we know and knowing how well this has gone so far. And I do wonder how Porzingis approached tonight's game, knowing that it was Marcus Smart's return, knowing that he's the guy that came back. And I wonder if he sat there tonight, and I think they panned to him, and I think I saw him clapping along for the tributes, but that's got to mean something to him to see how, 2 things. One, to see how important Marcus Smart was to this team. And I wonder if he's ever been on a team or ever been in a situation where he's been on the court for a tribute or a return, especially of that caliber, because he's been on teams where, let's be honest, it didn't end well
Yeah.
for him, whether it's the Knicks, whether it's the Mavericks. Washington just, he did his thing, but it's Washington. What's
Right.
it really mean? He's not, put it this way, he's not getting a Marcus Smart tribute video anywhere he goes. So
Yeah.
I wonder if when he sees that, if he gets a different appreciation for Boston and what it means to be playing here. Not that he doesn't appreciate it already. And I also wonder was he feeling any pressure to be the guy that came in for Marcus Smart before? And if not, does that change things when he says, "Oh wow, this guy really was a fan favorite," and I sort of have an obligation to sort of play with that same intensity, be that player that fans want to watch and want to get behind.
I don't think that was ever a factor in him before today or before the trivia video or anything like that, because they play two very different positions and they have two very different roles that they are tasked with playing. Porzingis, to me, he's got one of the best jobs of any NBA starter in the NBA. He's making max money as the, at best, third option on the team. I mean, think about working for a company where you make, whatever the CEO makes, that's kind of what you're making, but you're like the assistant VP to the CEO. It's just it's a great situation for him. And if you're Porzingis, I think you're clapping not only to just say, "Hey, Marcus, welcome back." You're thinking, "Thank God they had Marcus Smart on this roster so that they could get me here."
Right.
And that's, to me, if you're Porzingis, I think that is what you think about more than anything else. Is you have an opportunity for the first time in your career to play on an elite team, compete for a championship, and no one is looking at you as, okay, you've got to carry these guys on your back in order for us to get that title. For him, he just has to play his role, and most nights his role is to be a factor offensively. I think
his role needs to be bigger, to be honest. I think,
you know what? It's tricky though with him, because you say that and it makes sense, but then you look at Derek White and it's like, well, doesn't Derek White have a big role
there's
too?
only one ball.
And what about Jalen? I mean, Jalen is, I think sometimes we definitely take what he does for granted. The fact that he can go out there and get you pretty much 20 points every night and never really be the number one option. He'll have like maybe a 5-6 minute stretch where he's the number one option, but that's it. And he still manufactures a tremendously high amount of points, even though he's not consistently that guy. So I think Porzingis is cool with whatever role that they ask him to play. He's
cool with it. Yeah. My only thing is that I think he needs to be more aggressive sometimes. Now, I'm not saying tonight because it's a different situation, but there are games where I'm like, well, if they're not going to go to him, he needs to go to the ball himself. You know what I mean? They tend to forget him. And I don't know if that's a Joe issue or if that's a Tatum and Brown thing, but you have this guy in Porzingis that is one of a handful of players that can kind of do everything that he does all in one. And there are games where he goes, 8 field goal attempts. You know what I mean? It's like that. Those are the games where I'm like, damn, like they probably could have used him more on offense at least.
Absolutely. And that's one of those things. I consider that just part of the learning and growing process that you have when you're a new guy to a team that's already built to win at a high level, that has already won at a relatively high level. You're trying to get in where you fit in. And I think for Porzingis, there's some games where it just absolutely crystallizes itself and makes total sense. And other games where he just seems kind of lost in the fog of what exactly they need him to do in order to be impactful. But at the end of the day, though, if you're the Celtics, the thing that you are most consumed by and concerned with is him being healthy. Because if he's healthy, you have a tremendously great opportunity to go very deep in the playoffs, because more nights than not, he's going to be one of the mismatches that you can exploit. And this game against the Grizzlies was a perfect example of what that looks like. They had no answer for him. I mean, he had 26 points, but he could have easily gone on for 40 if they really, really wanted him to, and he wanted to be assertive. Because I didn't think he was very assertive. I think he just took kind of what they gave him, and they didn't really have much of a choice but to give him what he wanted, because he's bigger, longer, has better touch around the basket than the guys that were trying to defend him. And I use the word trying loosely because they're not very. This was not a very good Memphis team, obviously, with injuries and stuff like that. So Porzingis did what you're supposed to do: get you 26 and call it a day.
Yeah, and again, like that's, and 26, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. I mean, that's just another day at the office, again, I guess my only thing was I wonder if he saw it tonight kind of unfold and was just like, damn, like that's real. That's kind of like a real love situation that they have for this guy. And like, I think he already had a great appreciation for playing for the organization, but I think that's just like another example of it, of seeing that. And now I wonder if anyone's going to ask him something similar tonight, just, thoughts on the fans' reaction and being the guy that sort of was traded for him. I think that's an interesting little wrinkle, but it's obviously not, the storyline tonight.
Well, keep in mind the teams that he has played for recently. I mean, he played for the Washington Wizards. I call them Izzards because W's, there should be no W's in their names. Exactly.
The Lizards.
And so he played for them. You played for a Dallas team that was one of the big underachievers that year. And so for him, I think the appreciation is being with an organization and being with a team of players who are not just talking about winning, but their actions that dictate that they are about winning. And obviously they're going to have their hiccups along the way. They're going to have those games where they suck and they lose to a bad team. It happens to everyone, all the great teams it happens to. But what's the consistent dynamic or blueprint for what they do night in, night out? And more times than not, obviously this year, they find ways to win and have lots of different guys contributing to that success, including Porzingis. So for him, that tribute video is great because Mark has meant a lot to this organization, and trading him so that he can get to Boston means a lot to him. So Porzingis, I think he's good with all this, man. Because if like I said, it goes back. I mean, you're the assistant junior CEO, but you're making as much as the CEO.
Yeah, right. You're assistant to the regional manager. You're the Dwight Schrute.
Exactly. You're the regional manager, but you're making as much as the CEO.
Yeah.
How can you be mad about that? And everyone is profiting. The company is doing well. So,
everyone's getting in line for that Christmas bonus.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So yeah, Porzingis has a great life, man.
We talked briefly about the bench, some of the bench guys. One guy that I think slowly but surely here is becoming more of a regular name among Celtics fans is Queta. I gotta say, Queta, man. Limited minutes tonight, but making those minutes count. If I'm Bobby, I'm shaking in my boots right now about my.
This is the thing about Queta. I think there are certain matchups, certain rosters where Queta can be a little bit more impactful than Luke. Luke is a good ball mover. Luke really, when he's out there, he's very good at being kind of that conduit between, the hockey assist and the person who actually makes the assist. He's very good in that role. And you need guys like that when you talk about winning games. But there's some nights where you just need a guy that's going to bang. You need a big who's going to play big. And Queta is that guy on a lot of nights. Now, he's going to make some silly fouls. He's going to jump for trying to block shots and also shots that he has no business jumping for, because him merely being out there is going to intimidate some guys who are going to hesitate to shoot. He's got to get smarter in that regard. But if you're the Celtics, I'm warming to the idea of having them both. Because I think there are certain matches where Queta should be playing more than Luke, and certain matches where I think Luke should be playing more than Queta. That's Joe's call to figure out how to manage those two, because they are two very different types of bigs. And I would like to see Joe do a little bit better job of utilizing each of their strengths, because there just seems to be a lot of what I call empty calorie games from Luke, where it feels like, it feels like you're drinking a beverage where it's just empty calories. Taste isn't great. You're not getting any calories. It's just literally something that's a little bit sweeter than water. And I don't want that for my backup bigs. I think they're nice where Queta should play more than Luke. And I just don't think Joe feels that press to put him out there. What do you think, Josue?
What's up, Josue?
What's going on, fellas? How we doing?
Better now that we got you in the building. How's it going?
Oh, you're sweet, Jimmy.
Thank you,
good, man. I'm doing good. And just to piggyback on that, for sure, Sherrod, I just think he's still a bit raw, right? The fouls is still a concern, but once he gets that down, once he can be one of those defensive guys, and obviously he can make clean blocks and clean steals, I think he will be a problem, honestly. I mean, you look at the other night, one of the few good things that we saw from the Celtics team against that Lakers matchup was how quickly this guy was flirting with the double-double. I mean, he doesn't need a lot of time out there to go out, grab rebounds, create opportunities for the Celtics, second chance opportunities. And also, hey, you give him the ball in the paint where he's comfortable, he'll dunk. You know what I mean? He'll dunk on anybody in front of him. Like, he has that muscle. He has that confidence for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's just parts of his game that you're not going to get for someone like Luke. But Luke has been productive. You know, there's a reason why there's minutes for Luke on the reg. And I think a lot of it has to do with what Sherrod just said in the sense of ball movement, you know, making the right play, being in the right spot a lot of the times. But defensively, in terms of cleaning the glass and being a force in the middle, I think that's where Queta gets the upper hand out of the two.
Yeah.
Josue, you didn't get a chance to give us your Marcus thoughts. We did give him about 20 minutes to start, but just give us your take on what you saw there tonight and anything after the game.
I just thought it was really cool to see most of the Loge guys that had tickets in the Loge sections just hanging around just to watch Marcus talk to other people. You know, like he kind of took center court there and daps and pounds, long talks with Al Horford, Tatum a little bit, you know, and then just sort of like that final salute, man. I thought it was really, really cool for fans to just stick around just so they could say thank you one last time. And
I didn't see that. I didn't see that happen.
Yeah. I figured, you know, they must have went to commercial right after the game. But yeah, after the post-game interview, after most of the players, well, all the players really were in the back, he stayed out there for a little bit, just greeting a lot of the Celtics officials and people within the organization that maybe he didn't get a chance to say hi to. He took that moment, and it was really cool, man. I want to say, like, I don't know, Sherrod, what would you say, like 300, 400, 500 fans were still just hanging around? Obviously,
It was a lot.
Obviously, they have like zero to no chance of even
counting Sherrod in that group?
Making eye contact. Nah, Sherrod was getting ready to get on to hop on with you, but
I had to work with you, Jimmy.
Yeah. My bad.
Like, that's cool, man. Like, it's not like he's going in the crowd, giving everyone high fives and all that. But no, people just wanted to just take in that moment, you know, because who knows? You know, the Memphis Grizzlies obviously only come here once a year, so who knows the next time they'll see him. And I just thought it was a really special day for him, and you could tell he really embraced it.
Marcus is going to be back here someday. It may be as a player, it may be as a coach. Marcus will be back in Boston.
Yeah, he's beloved by the organization, right, Sherrod? I mean, tribute videos, obviously, there's a special group of people that get that from this Celtics organization. But with Marcus, I feel like they go a step beyond when they salute what he's done for the community with the Hero Among Us award. Like, I love that moment for Marcus because, you know, Sherrod, I'm sure you can attest to this. When he started doing stuff within the community, he didn't announce it. You know, he didn't put it out there. It kind of just picked up steam on its own because he did it just for the kindness of his heart. You know,
he was doing a lot of stuff that was really behind the scenes that that very few of us knew about.
I love that.
Yeah, one of the first times that I got a chance to spend some time with Marcus was up in Maine at some type of event. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was talking then about having a foundation and how he wanted to get back. And this was like his rookie season. And, you know, I think back to that conversation, a lot of things that he talked about wanting to do, he made happen for a lot of kids. And he did it with, as you pointed out, Josue, with very little fanfare, very little attention. And that was intentional. Because it really wasn't about shining a spotlight on what he was doing, but it was about helping people. And what he learned, though, was that you kind of got to bring the spotlight on that so that you can attract other people to put a hand in to help with that work. And he's really intentional about just making sure that he's doing his part beyond just being a basketball player. And you know, if we're going to keep it totally 100, it's not like he's had nothing but great experiences when he's been in Boston. He's been very clear about the not so great experiences, but he doesn't allow those experiences to take away from what he feels his mission is, which is to help others in a way that goes above and beyond him simply signing a piece of paper or the back of a jersey at a game. And that's the thing that I've always appreciated about him. About his focus has always been on something bigger and greater than himself. And he makes that happen. Now, having said that, we also agree on the fact that when the Celtics made the decision to move him and get Porzingis, that was a great deal. That was a little too damn tempting to pass up if you're Boston. And I love the fact that he is honest about that, about I would have done the same deal too. Very few players have that kind of self-reflection.
Yeah, but Sherrod, let me ask you this though: you think that's changed in the last like 3 or 4 months? Because if you ask me, I feel like it has. Like I think as time has passed and he sees what the Celtics look like now, it's kind of like, oh, I get it now. You know what I mean? Because I remember the first time we got a chance to catch up with Marcus right after the trade happened. He was sort of like, hey, listen, if they think that's what's best for them, then I'm not gonna fight that, which you respect, but you sort of had that sense of like maybe he's thinking Porzingis, you guys really think like he's the answer? And then obviously he sees what they look like. He's like, oh, okay, I get it now. You know?
Well, I think for Marcus, his memory was like, you do realize that I was locking this dude up at 6'4" and he's 7'2", 7'3". I do realize that, right? But what Marcus, I think, eventually realized that, yeah, that's true. But you're also the defensive player of the year. You're also one of the best players at that particular part of the floor in the NBA. Yeah. The rest of these guys in the league, they're not that good. And guess what? He puts them on the grill on a regular basis. Right. There's not a lot of players that you see Porzingis match up with that they outplay him, and it's a clear mismatch. More times than not, he's going to get the better of whoever is trying to guard him. And so I think as the season wore on, and Marcus is doing what I think any former teammate would do. You're going to watch your former team play. You're going to check out those clips. You are going to be following them on IG and all their social media platforms, and you're going to see all those clips. And you're watching Porzingis go to work. You're watching him hitting folks with 22, 7, and 4, 5 blocks, and just doing all these things. And more than anything else, they're winning. Yeah. They're not just playing well, they're winning more than any other team in the NBA. And the thing about Marcus, he understands as a competitor, that's ultimately what all this is about. What can I do to impact winning? Right. Is my presence giving this team a better chance to be successful than my lack of a presence? And Marcus, as much as he helped the Celtics while he was here, and he definitely deserves credit for that, Porzingis is getting them further down the road. Yeah. Porzingis is giving them an avenue of growth that they just weren't going to have with Marcus. And so for him, I think it's just part of it, just his maturation and embracing the fact that, you know, I had a hand in helping them build this, but they're looking to build it bigger, better, stronger, more diverse. And I basically was collateral damage for that to happen. They had to move me in order to get better. And again, that's just kind of how Marcus is. He gets it. He absolutely gets it.
All right, that's Sherrod at the game. Josue.
Whoa, Jimmy, you don't like the center spot? Okay.
No, I think I should be on the line. I want Josue. You're front and center. Everybody knows that. Man.
I don't hate it, but
nobody passes the ball to the center anyway. So the wings, we got it. We'll keep taking shots. Center.
All right, I'll man the middle.
You were a sports coach tonight, so we'll give you a shot.
I'll man the middle. That's cool.
Yeah, man the middle.
Go get some rebounds. We'll keep shooting.
So we got Sherrod in the building. Josue's in the building. Bobby Manning was on the show to start. He's in the building, getting some more post-game sound. John Zanis was also in the building, folks.
Yeah, he was.
That's why he's not in the podcast. He had his Marcus Smart jersey on.
No, he had a custom Marcus Smart. I said, thank you, Marcus. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know, John's going to kill me if I left that out there like it was facts. No,
John Zanis is at the game. Pretty good season. He wanted us to give a shout out to Rob from Portland, Maine, who came down and introduced himself to John. Apparently wanted to be seen with John, which is rare, but he introduced himself.
He like sniped him, I guess, and just like ran all the way over to say hi to John.
Rob and his 2 daughters, big fan of the show. So we want to say shout out to Rob. Appreciate the support. And we also want to say shout out to our good friends at FanDuel, who are our favorite sponsors of FanDuel Sportsbook. And right now you can get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins on FanDuel. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. And guys, officially a week from now, we will all be watching the Super Bowl. I think it's safe to say. Chiefs, Niners at this time. And bets are going to be flying. I've gone won or lost 30 different bets, I think, by this time. Of course, responsibly. But the best way to do that would be to sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook, get that $5 bet in. All right, win it. That's key. You got to win the bet, and then you've got $200 in bonus bets to use on probably 1,000 or 10,000 different bets that you can make on a FanDuel Sportsbook. You know what I love to do? I love to just pop on the app and just poke around and see like what kind of ridiculous prop bets and what
those are the best, aren't they?
What combinations of crazy bets can I make and hopefully win? But yeah, the props on the Super Bowl are awesome. I mean, anything you can think of, there's a bet for. Gatorade colors, the popular prop one, but you can even bet. I think you can probably even bet on the halftime show. So
What's the first song? What's Usher coming out to?
Exactly.
You're a big Usher guy. Come on, Jimmy. I know you
I
got
love
that.
Usher, but man, I don't know. I nailed the Katy Perry one like 9 years ago. No, like
Did you?
I did.
I'm a big Katy Perry fan.
I had the Tiger she led with, and I freaking nailed it.
I would say I watched that halftime, but I was really upset that day. So, at that time at halftime. So I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
this is the Seahawks
I'm gonna go
one,
cool
Josue.
off and not
This is
watch
the
it.
Seahawks one.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're
Seahawks. Oh, never mind.
Seahawks,
I'm thinking of the I'm thinking of Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
right? Atlanta. Yeah.
I wasn't watching that one either.
I wasn't watching that. Yeah.
No. But anyways, FanDuel.com/boss. I don't know. Like I would say, like by Usher. Like just get the people going.
I feel like that would be the second one. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna come out and do one, and then right when that beat drops, everyone loses it. So I feel like that's like the second.
You don't think he comes out to just like dun, 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 dun. I just feel like the people start get going off the bat. I don't know. We'll see.
That or OMG, maybe. I don't know.
OMG. I'm gonna go OMG.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe OMG.
Does he play nice and slow? That was like his OG. Like that song.
If he does, it's like a verse because it's a really slow song.
It's not the audience.
Pick and choose.
Yeah.
I wonder if Lil
That's
Jon.
like middle school dance vibes right there.
I wonder if Lil Jon makes an appearance.
That'd be cool.
That'd be dope.
Sometimes you can get a guest or two. All right, we've gone too long. John's gonna hate us. All right,
yeah,
FanDuel.com/Boston. Get your sign up in there and get in on the fun. It's always a lot of fun on Super Bowl. Good food, good action. I got the Niners. I'm gonna stick with the Niners. I know that betting against the Chiefs probably sounds crazy right now because they've been figuring out how to win games, but I don't think the Chiefs have played great football this year, and I'm gonna lean Niners. It's not a lock, but I'm gonna lean Niners, and that's what I'm gonna stick with.
I'm going Chiefs.
Are you?
Chiefs.
Are you a Mahomes guy? Mahomes believer?
I like him. He's a phenomenal player. But
yeah.
I'm going Chiefs.
I mean, Mahomes Purdy is kind of one-sided there. So.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna have like that third quarter where they break away or something. I don't know. Taylor Swift's gonna be going nuts.
Taylor, the Swifties will be watching.
I mean, not that I'm not one of those people that's get her off my screen type thing, but I just feel like it's in the cards. It's in the cards. No, I'm not. but let me say this though.
Keep showing her.
The memes.
She's gonna be on for like 90 seconds for the entire game.
Hey,
that's how much. That's
a prop. That's a prop bet right there.
I don't think they can do that.
The Niners. Totally. The Niners can prevent it from happening by not letting Travis Kelce score a touchdown. So it's really up to them to keep Taylor off the screen.
Good luck for that.
All right, back to the game. Josue, Marcus Smart aside, anything stick out to you tonight? We talked Porzingis earlier. We've talked some Queta. Obviously Tatum. I guess we really haven't talked about Tatum that much, but what's really to say? He beat up on a G League squad and he did his thing.
Sure did.
This was practice, but Tatum. This was like glorified practice. Real talk.
Yeah, we had a little bit of Horford tonight. Anything that stuck out to you that you want to get in here before?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the course of the game, I kept thinking about what Mazzulla was saying in the sense of picking out what works best for the team. When reading opposing defenses and making those adjustments on the fly, which is a lot of what these what the big conversation is, as Mazzulla said, happened in practice where the players, and Mazzulla sort of said, hey, sometimes what you see before play starts is not the same thing that what we see. So I thought that was interesting for Joe to kind of let us in on that conversation a little bit, right? Talking about it in practice and then seeing what they did out there tonight, especially with identifying how Memphis Grizzlies just didn't have that rim protector. So how many times were there lobs, especially in transition where you just knew Grizzlies just couldn't get back there to defend that. So I thought the Celtics did a really good job of identifying that and just keep continuing to do it until all of a sudden it's a 20-point lead, 25, 30 points, so on. And I think that's a lot of what Mazzulla's been talking about. It's like pinpointing weaknesses and attacking it and continuing to do that throughout the game. And I think that obviously against a team like this, very, very short-handed Grizzlies team, it's easier. It's magnified. However, this is something that has to be the norm for the Celtics, regardless of who they're playing. So for them to not let up showed that the message was delivered. I don't care if you guys are playing an actual G League team. You have to do this every single night. And of course, you look at what happened against the Lakers. That wasn't the case. So I like that, obviously. And I like seeing Tatum's defensive awareness, I thought stood out as well. Jumping the passing lanes in that first half and just identifying, tendencies that the Grizzlies were continuing to do.
I was gonna say wait because you segued perfectly into this clip that I want to play from Joe, so we're gonna take a listen to it now.
So how did you feel about the response?
I thought we did our job. The game went how it was supposed to go from the standpoint of I thought we played well. We executed, and I thought we came with the right mindset. So you can't not appreciate the times where you just come in, do your job, and get out. And I think that's important, But the mindset remains the same. Like, whether it's a win or a loss, it's still unhealthy to stay attached to it. So we got to get better. And I think that's the healthy mind frame that we're trying to stay into,
Yeah, man, it's perfect. Yep, that's it. Remember how Tatum talked about a bad day at work? This is a great day at work. This is when it's like everything is going your way. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on? You're putting out fires left and right like that. Like, you know what I mean? And like everything is just like, wow, look at
Check the lights up at the office. Headphones on, walking down that sidewalk.
You're not like stressed out on the way out.
Close the deal.
Yeah. It's usually like a Thursday or something. But if you want to use that metaphor, then this was that day. This is a great work day for the Celtics for sure.
Sherrod, it sounded like Joe just said, we busted their ass just like we were supposed to, basically.
Exactly. And he did it in a very politically correct, way. But this is what you're supposed to do, though. That team is trash. Yeah. They're trash. And that's no disrespect to the organization. It's just that they've got so many injuries that they have been devalued to where they've got basically a sub-G League team of players out there. This team, I don't know if the way they're constructed, they'd finish in the top third of the G League, to be honest. They're that bad. They're that bad. And it's no disrespect to the players. It's just
like
that
at least 6 G Leaguers on that team.
Well, you've got like 5, 6, 7 guys in the rotation who should be like basically the 11th and 12th guy on most teams. And they're starting. They're playing major minutes. And you find out why these guys don't have these big, fat, multi-year contracts because that's not who they are. And so Joe was spot on and just basically saying we handle our business. And that's something that this team we know is susceptible to not doing when they feel that they're playing an inferior opponent. The Lakers the other night, that team was garbage, and yet they handed you a fat L. Why? Because you didn't give them the respect that a team in the NBA should warrant every night. If the team is bad and you're playing them, show the world why they're bad. Don't let them off the hook. Don't let them gain confidence. Austin Reeves looked like MVP. Austin Reeves out there. That should never happen. He looked like he was the best player on the floor. And with all due respect, when you've got most of your guys healthy, at best he should be maybe the 4th, maybe 5th best player.
Maybe 5th. Maybe 5th.
But to be better than everyone that you had out there, come on, that's just embarrassing.
Two of the top greatest 75 NBA players are on that weren't playing. They're in street clothes, right? Mm-hmm. So you gotta take advantage of that.
This ain't preseason. This ain't exhibition. This isn't the in-season tournament. This is a regular season game. So that was disappointing and embarrassing all at the same time. But to the Celtics' credit, they didn't allow. That's the other thing that they've been very good at. They have not allowed setbacks to linger. They may lose a couple games in a row or 3 out of 4 every now and every blue moon, but you don't get the sense that they allow whatever they don't get right to stick. And that's again that's part of being a really good team. I know that. After the Lakers lost, there was a lot of folks jumping off the green team bandwagon. That this team isn't this, they're not that, and that's great for them because when you won the way they have, sometimes you need the haters to remind you that you ain't really all that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to hear those voices about they not that nice. The Clippers are better. Milwaukee lost them in the best of 7. Sometimes you need to hear that stuff to be like, oh, really? Hold my beer. I'll be right back.
That's how you feel? That's how you feel? Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So,
that's been the knock on them, Sherrod, though. That has been the knock over the last few seasons is that they don't get up for the little games.
Right.
It's not that they don't get up for the big games. They might still lose a big game, but that doesn't mean they didn't get up for it. I mean, there's a couple exceptions. Milwaukee, obviously, is one that sticks out, but we've seen it before. A team comes in, their best player sits or the best 2 players sit, and then
that's a loss.
And you think, oh, the Celtics are going to roll. No, they're going to get rolled because they sleepwalk. They can't get themselves fired up for it.
Yeah, get rolled up and smoked out the building.
And especially with
strategy for the other team.
With this circumstance, though, Jimmy, like this is the one that sticks out because this wasn't this wasn't news that dropped like an hour before tip-off. They
Right.
knew about 4 or 5 hours before the game that no LeBron, no Anthony Davis. The team had a meeting, and then they still, what happened still happened. So, like, when Gary went out there and asked that question, like, which obviously it's a great question because it's like the same day you had this meeting, it's like, hey, make sure this doesn't happen, and then they let it happen. So I just think between the
You have kids, Josue?
between exactly, like, deflecting at his best. It's like, man, like, tell me you're uncomfortable without telling me you're uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, you just didn't want to, you didn't like the heat, so you deflected. But something tells me about the way they responded, which doesn't surprise me. But again, the way they did it though in this game against the Grizzlies, between the conversation that they had in practice and just having a really tough scrimmage, whatever kind of practice they had, you can just tell that this is the result of that. These guys really, really had a lot, to iron out Saturday at the Auerbach Center.
What about? I know you jumped on when we were talking about Queta a little bit, Josue. I don't know if you got to finish your
a little bit, yeah.
I mean, we know that whether it's Queta, Cornette, Brissett, whoever it might be, these are end of the rotation guys. Maybe not even in the rotation when the playoffs come around. You might have a situation where you need to go to one of those guys. What's he showing you over the last stretch of games here that he's been able to get an opportunity to play in? And is he a guy now that does he maybe make you think, well, maybe we don't need to do anything at the trade deadline? Not that they're going to do anything crazy anyways, but is this team becoming more solidified where, the trade deadline could come and go and they might be the same exact team, and that might not be horrible. That might not be the worst thing. That might just be, this is our team. And we've seen enough from, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that we're good with it.
I don't think they would be in a bad spot if that were to happen, to be honest with you. You're seeing the continuity, you're seeing the way these guys really cheer for one another. And I think there's a lot to be said about that for a team with championship aspirations. Queta is a great example of someone that, wasn't quite sure if he'd even stick onto the team. And then to see his growth in the last 2-3 months, you could tell like the team really, really cheers him on, when he's in there. And Jordan Walsh scores his first NBA points. Like, everyone is on their feet in the bench. Well, obviously the crowd helps as well, but like, I just think all of that matters, especially when there's been so many nights where guys, people who you don't expect to have any playing time are starting, moments where guys have to contribute, and I think guys remain ready, like the whole stay ready crew, because of the way this roster is designed, Al not playing on the second line of back-to-backs, and, Porzingis missing a handful of games. So I think all that helps because they obviously, one, stay ready, and two, you're seeing the growth in between, guys 9 and 12 or whatever at the end. Whereas we always knew going into the season that the top 6 were solidified and easily the better top 6 across the NBA. But those spots between 7, 8, and 9, I think, is now we're starting to figure out, as we see, Hauser coming to his own, and Pritchard, is still trying to find that consistency. But you're seeing guys you're able to plug in and still get results.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Hauser and Pritchard. You would think that those guys, Hauser, Pritchard, Luke, those are your first 3 guys off the bench, or
with Horford,
Al aside. Not a ton from those guys tonight. I don't know if that's just the way the game went, or the Celtics just went a little bit deeper into the bench and they didn't really need to do as much. But is there, Sherrod, I mean, when you look at Hauser and Pritchard specifically, because those guys are going to get more consistent playing time than Luke will, are they reliable? Are they reliable on a night in, night out basis? We know what Hauser can do. We know what Pritchard can do. I would say we know what both those guys can do, but can we rely on them to actually do it when it's going to matter?
No. And I think part of that is because I don't believe they're going to be leaned on when it does matter. I think
someone's got to play off the bench.
Well, yeah, but they don't got to play much. They don't got to play a lot.
No.
They don't have to play a meaningful role. I think you're going to see, depending on how they play, you're going to see their minutes reduce as we get into the playoffs, which is understandable. You want your best players out there for most of the game, while recognizing that they're going to need breaks along the way in order to be as fresh as possible down the stretch. So to me, their playing time, they are going to dictate their playing time. The better they play, the better chances they have to be on the floor for significant minutes. But when a game actually is on the line, late in the fourth quarter, and you need a stop, I think Hauser might be on the floor to some extent if they really, they need a 3-ball to kind of either stymie a run by the other team or they need a bucket of some kind. He might be on the floor in that situation. But he's not going to be on the floor because they absolutely got to get him a shot. They want him on the floor because your options A and B and C might break down. And if he's D, then get him to rock and see what he can do. So I'm not worried too much about them in the bench because I just don't think they're going to lean on the bench as much as they've done in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that last year, right? Mazzulla was putting out like a 7-man rotation pretty much. He just showed you how much trust he had in particular guys. And obviously we saw in that series against the Heat that Grant Williams was on the outside of the circle of trust, right? So, I mean, I just think when it comes down to playoff basketball, Mazzulla is not afraid to say, hey, I'm not going to play you. I don't trust you out there, So it wouldn't shock me if you get the same type of approach this time around. But obviously, you have a much more dynamic team, group of guys where you don't necessarily have to go 8 deep every single night, But hey, that's what happened last year. I'm not saying that's going to happen again this year, but it's a strong chance that will happen with Al being the 6th guy. Hauser, I think, has proven himself, so I think he's a lock for that 7th. But that 8th, maybe it's Pritchard in one series, maybe it's not, in another. We'd have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, listen. The bench is always going to be the question mark. I don't even know what Pritchard had any playoff role in his career. Not much of one. So I mean,
it's interesting because remember Ime like went to him and believed in him all of a sudden towards the end of that postseason run, and then he had that huge game 1 against the Warriors in the finals, and he kind of just faded from there. But yeah, some experience though. I mean, not a lot of guys on this team can say they balled out the way he did in limited minutes in that game 1 matchup where Celtics obviously went off, and as Draymond Green remembers it, something that never was destined to happen again, and it didn't throughout that series. But Pritchard did have a part in that.
We're talking about the Celtics bench. Jordan Walsh scores his first career points tonight. It was one of those crowds that you could tell they just kind of were in a good mood no matter what. So I think
but people love Jordan Walsh, man.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean they made sure they let him know that they understood it was his first career 2 points on the dunk. Sherrod went on earlier to say that he thinks Jordan Walsh is a future perennial all-star in this league. No, he didn't say that, but he does think that Jordan Walsh can have some kind of effect. I think mostly on the defensive end. I'm going to go to a Joe bite here on Walsh to see. I have no idea what he said, but we're going to find out right now.
I mean, even before that, I think what stood out is just his growth as a player and understanding the most important thing is defense. And I loved his defensive positioning and his defensive physicality and his instincts. And I think that's gotten a lot better since the beginning of the year. And I think that's a challenge for any young player is really buying into the fact that regardless of what you think you are offensively or how it went in college, you have to play defense. You got to learn defense, and he's done a great job of that. And then it's fun for him to he got his first 2 points in the Garden, and like you said, he continued to play the right way.
There you go.
I mean, Joe and I are watching the same thing. Good to know. I just think that when you get to the playoffs, you are going to have to win a game, at least one game, where none of your guys that you're banking on all season are going to lead the charge. You're going to need someone to do something that's unexpected, unpredictable, and significantly impactful. And I think Jordan Walsh could be one of those wild cards that, again, we're not going to be talking about him much the rest of the season. Right. But there may be a night where, maybe one of the backup reserves isn't feeling well or has some type of health ailment that they're dealing with, and he's on an active roster, and one of the wings gets in early foul trouble, and Jordan Walsh comes in there and plays really good for 3-4 minute stretch, and that is the recalibration that they need to go on to win the game. And even though that'll probably be a night where Tatum has 30 and Jalen will have 25, those who watch the game will remember the surge that put you in control of the game was sparked by the Rook, and I think that's the role that he could potentially have going forward. Because again, I've seen him play, like 3 or 4 G League games. He's good, yo. I mean, young fella is nice. I mean, he can ball. And
he's athletic out there.
He's ridiculously athletic. He's way more athletic than I thought. That's probably, Jimmy, that's the one thing about him that I didn't anticipate would translate as well at this level. That is from what I've seen. I knew he wasn't a great shooter, but I thought he was a solid athlete and was just kind of one of those guys that does a lot of different things pretty good, but really hadn't figured out what is he great at this level. His athleticism is going to allow him as time moves on to get on the floor and do some things that his talent hasn't quite caught up, or his skill set, I should say, hasn't quite caught up with the athleticism. And that's okay, because right now they don't need that from him. It'll come in time. But right now, I would love to see Joe figure out a way to get him. He doesn't have to play every game, but find a way to get him out on the floor, with these last, 30 some odd games they got.
I'm just texting with Bobby. He is going to jump back. He is going to jump back. I just told him he's going to jump back on. He's finishing up, or Tatum's talking right now. So we're going to get Tatum's reaction on Marcus Smart night, and I guess maybe some other comments from the game. Speaking of that, I got another clip here. Let's see what Al Horford had to say about old friend Marcus Smart.
Yeah, it's special. It was special to be able to share those moments with him. I knew that the crowd was going to be very, very grateful and appreciative, and they were great. They really showed their appreciation, and it was nice to see not only Marcus but also his wife, and the people that were along with them. That they were kind of taking everything in, appreciating the moment, and feeling the love. Boston has real love for Marcus. And even though he's on another team, it doesn't change, how we feel about him as our guys, and also the fans show how they feel about him as well.
There you go. Teammate of a number of years. Toss this comment. This is based on our Peyton Pritchard combo. Standout game against Milwaukee. That's what I do game. Yes. So
yeah, he was nice.
Been there. Pritchard has been there to some extent. So we shall see.
Sherrod said that was cute. Yeah, I remember that.
We got Queta. I got the.
I love Pritchard, man. I love when people stick up for him. He's just a feisty dude, and I like feisty guys. Yeah. I just wish he did what he's capable of doing more often. He's a good shooter.
What's really preventing that, Sherrod?
I wish I knew, because it damn sure is an opportunity, because he's getting opportunities to do that. To me, when I watch him play, I don't think it's so much the size.
Is it the contract, Sherrod? Is it is it being comfortable knowing that you got some security for the next couple of years?
I don't think he's ever been comfortable, Josue.
Yeah, I don't think he knows what that feels like. He strikes me as someone who, even when he is comfortable, he's thinking about, man, this really isn't quite as comfortable as it should be.
This could all end tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I think he's just a guy that, when I look at him play and I look at his shot making, he's very much a rhythm guy. And sometimes it takes him a little longer than it should, in theory, to get into a flow, get into a rhythm. The thing that I do like about him, though, that he's able to, more times than not, it's not an issue, is his defense. He's a little guy who doesn't really get kind of beaten up and blasted the way most little guys do. And right. I think part of that is because he's just a little bulldog. I mean, you're trying to post him up. He's not having that. Right. If you're trying to, just shoot over the top of him, he's going to crowd your space and make it uncomfortable for you. To me, in a lot of ways, defensively, particularly when guys try to post him up, he reminds me of Drew Holiday, a smaller version of Drew Holiday. Because Drew Holiday has been able to show that he can hold his own with damn near any player in the league. I mean, Joel Embiid was having issues putting him in, putting him on a block, this season, which should never. I mean, the physics in your head tell you that should never happen. Joel Embiid, 260 and some change. Drew Holiday, nowhere near 260, maybe not even 200. But he makes him work. And that's the beautiful thing about Drew Holiday. And just kind of coming full circle to our buddy Marcus Smart, Drew Holiday is essentially a better version of Marcus Smart. When you look at the thing.
Okay, seeing this.
Wow. On Marcus Smart night.
That's not shade. That's not shade.
That was like Xander when they retired.
When they retired Jason's number. That's not shade because Marcus is a hell of a player. He's a really good player. But Drew, think about this. Marcus.
I'm not
I
disagreeing.
don't know, Sherrod. Maybe a couple of years ago.
Well, let's look at it this way. You talk about playmaking. You talk about shot making. You talk about on-the-ball defense. Right today. Forget, I mean, if Marcus were not injured, Drew is probably a little bit better than him. And you look at the fact that Drew
I'm with you. I mean, I'm obviously with you on that.
Yeah, Drew is and again, there's no shade in that. I mean, that's just like saying, well, you know what? Jalen is a good player, but, there's some guys who are better. I mean, and when you talk about Marcus, Drew is a guy that's probably better than him in many respects. And again, to me, there's no shame in that because that doesn't take away from Marcus being a great player. It recognizes what the Celtics were able to get in Drew Holiday, which is a really good championship player, guy who's already got a chip.
And I think Drew is the guy that's probably making the biggest sacrifice out of everybody.
Exactly. And the fact that you got your team, I mean, Drew is not even talking about it. You got his teammates talk about the sacrifice, which means something is happening in practice and we're not around that they're just like, damn, Drew still got some stuff in the bag that he ain't even pulling out the woodworks.
Let me ask you something, Sherrod.
Watching the playoffs, though, he's going to have one of those games where it's just like, that's what Milwaukee's missing.
Yeah.
It's
probably going to be against Milwaukee.
Yeah, it probably is.
Because he's going to be like Dame Lillard, huh? Okay, yeah.
Let me ask you something.
Okay.
They don't win that chip without Drew, man. Like, he had such a big part of that, man.
He did. His defense was phenomenal. Jimmy, you about to ask something? Yeah,
I asked him. You can go first, Sherrod, and then Josue, I'll get your opinion too. There was a quote that came out late last week, maybe from Brogdon, and it basically the short of it was that they asked him about his his feelings in Portland. He said, I like it here. I'm not trying to get traded. It's nice to be in a place where you're appreciated. Essentially,
yeah. The shade was real.
The shade was real.
Was real.
A, thoughts on that? B, how is that different than what? Why is that different with Drew Holiday?
Why is what different with Drew Holiday?
So I imagine what Brogdon's saying is that
in terms of sacrificing
role being sort of switched around. I'm not saying that it isn't different, but why is it different? Why should Holiday not feel the way Brogdon felt? I guess
because Drew's appreciated. Why
wasn't Brogdon appreciated?
Because Brogdon was part of a team that was built differently than the one that Drew is built with. Think about it. When Brogdon was here, you had him, you had Marcus Smart, you had Derek White. And this was Derek White I should be talked about as an all-star Derek White. Mm-hmm. But you were seeing signs that Derek was trending toward being a very impactful player. So you had three very impactful players really vying for one position, essentially. And they looked at the big picture and it's just like, okay, Marcus is a staple. He ain't going nowhere. And Derek White, we traded for Derek White and we had to actually give up something that was like that's like the one trade that Brad made where they actually gave up some legitimate capital as far as first round pick, stuff like that. And flip to this year with Drew Holiday. It's Drew Holiday, it's Derek White. Who's competing with them? Who's challenging them for minutes? Exactly. So if you're Drew, you're appreciated more so because you're not fighting for attention. It's like trying.
You're getting the minutes, even though he's not getting. Let's say he's not getting the looks on offense, though. Like that's okay with him because he's more of a defensive-minded guy. Anyways,
Marcus was in a three-headed battle to be prom king. Drew has no real competition to be the prom king, so he's feeling much love because he doesn't have that dynamic at play. So I get the difference. Now back to Malcolm's comments, he's spot on. They didn't appreciate the dude he gets 6th man of the year and you trade him. That stuff doesn't really happen that often. But the reason he was traded was because as the playoffs rolled on, even with him being hurt and not knowing how much you're going to get out of him, even when the idea of him being healthy, I think they realized that we've probably gotten as far as we're going to get with him. And we need, as much as we like him, we really need to add a stretch big. Mm-hmm. We need to add someone who can actually kind of be almost like a relief valve for the offense. And so you target Porzingis, who you knew was someone that was clearly available. And when that didn't work out, you moved on to plan B to get Porzingis, which was Marcus. So,
yeah. I mean, He's got a good point in the sense of what happened over the offseason, because let's face it, between Brad Stevens' quote saying that, oh, we have to mend that relationship because the collapse trade with the Clippers that fell through and all that stuff. But in reality, it was, okay, how can we cash in on this chip that we have? Like, that was their goal. Like, we're gonna strike someone big, and Brogdon has to be a part of it. So, yeah, you're not going to feel appreciated because you feel like I wasn't really part of your future. You just sort of wanted to use me as a chip to improve your roster overall. So clearly that's not the case right now in Portland. However, when you look at the way the game was played, how the season played out, you wonder if Brogdon thought that going into the season, he'd have a lot more say in how things were going as the veteran, as a point guard has been in this league for a long time, respected, in this league. And on top of everything, he thought he was going to be playing for Ime Udoka. So there was a lot of, what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. A lot of the expectations that I think that Brogdon, the way he saw this thing playing out in Boston, obviously didn't play out the way he saw it. But I don't think it's just about the way the season ended. I just think it's the way the decisions were called, shots were called, and all that. And of course, the offseason. It was like, are you guys even considering me as part of your future? And rightfully so, Brogdon. They probably weren't. It would have been worst case scenario. Brogdon's back. If you think about the way the Celtics approached the offseason in their trades.
Can you imagine, Josue? He's back angry. Rob.
He's back angry. Mark is out. Rob out. Like,
yeah,
this would be a very different season for the Celtics.
Yeah, that's why it's good to be proactive, boys. Sometimes it's hard to make those trades and make those decisions, but you want to avoid those situations.
Shout out to Brad for making those tough decisions, man. Because
he could see the future.
Welcome back, Bobby.
There's no way that stuff's easy if you're Brad Stevens.
Bobby, quick comments on Brogdon's comments before we get back to tonight's, or did you already talk about this some other episode?
I don't think we did.
Brogdon? Okay. No, I haven't hit on it yet.
We all hit on it, so why don't you give us your take?
I still don't get the retrospective complaining about how things went down here, because it was all good right up until the very end. He embraced the 6-man role, and
he won it. It wasn't like he wasn't appreciated. I mean, people must have appreciated him to vote him as the 6th man of the year.
Yeah, and you understand the gripes over the trade aspect of it. Now, the role thing and the appreciation, I feel like there was plenty of appreciation here. If anyone wasn't appreciated, again, we've said it over and over again, Jimmy, it was Derek White. Took one shot in crunch time last postseason.
That's why I'm cracking up, guys. Sorry, that's a funny comment. The Steve Jobs turtleneck.
Turtleneck Bobby's
well done.
I think it's sharp.
Well
Bobby.
done.
I think it's sharp.
Well done, DJ Daniel. Sorry. Go ahead,
Jimmy.
Yeah.
One of the fans we ran into tonight was praising your mustache, Jimmy. He said, "Keep it up."
Is this Rob from Maine?
No, a different one.
Oh, a different one. Wow.
Fans Bobby, tell us about the next big thing. Come on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What can we expect to hear at the meeting this week? New color iPhone? No. All right, Bobby. We waited for you. We want to know what can you tell us?
The fit is dope, though. No hate.
Around for Tatum.
Oh, yeah.
Tatum reaction to Marcus, or just in general? What do we got?
No, Jason obviously just took in the crowd reaction, and he's seen in a couple different situations now just how much adulation you get from the fan base here after you're done, especially if you have a long, successful career. He's talked about seeing, jerseys go up in the rafters and, being around obviously KG and Pierce to some degree, but this being a guy that he played with for as long as he did, seeing how that gets you this treatment here in the city. So I think just another layer to Tatum's starting to understand the experience here a little bit, right? And he's talked about that in several different interviews, and starting to get the expectations and, sort of how fans interact with this team, and even just living here for as long as he has now. So I think it's another layer to that. I found Al Horford's comments great. Hearing on him as well.
Yeah,
we got clips on both. So I'm gonna play Tatum first, then I'm gonna go right on. Oh, we already played Al, so I'm gonna just play Tatum's comment. Right?
Yeah. It just goes to show that when you put this jersey on and you respect the game and respect the organization and respect the people that came before you by, essentially giving it your all every single night. When Pierce and KG and Smart, when they all came back for different reasons, the reception and the love that they got, when you do all those things, the fans they appreciate it, and they know how to show their appreciation.
Whoa,
Yes.
Josue's
We
gone.
lost Josue. We lost him. It's a 30-second clip, Josue. Damn it.
Can't take a break.
Damn
Yeah,
it.
shortest clip ever. Damn it.
30-second clip, Josue.
He
What
thought
are
it was
you
about
doing?
to be like an
over there?
inauguration speech.
I thought it was like 45 at least.
You know, there's a little stop camera button you can click. If you,
You know what Tatum does with his like I thought it would be like at least a 45-second clip. But
Those are the comments that, I mean, Bobby, you mentioned it. We're waiting for those types of comments for years and years and
We
years.
thought
and
they
I
would
think
never come.
over the last
Yeah.
couple of years, we're starting to hear it a lot more. And yeah, it's nice to hear players in the moment appreciate it, not after the fact, not saying, oh, you know, I didn't realize it until I played on, you know, team X, Y, and Z after, but understanding how special it is. And I think a guy like Porzingis is a great example of that, coming from the opposite situation and seeing the difference. So it's nice
He
to
can't
see.
stop smiling. Yeah.
Right.
That was the thing tonight. There were obviously clashes and hard times and bumps, and people had their gripes with Smart at many different points. But tonight, I just think showed that even his biggest detractors looked at him and said, he works his ass off. He played so hard, and he meant well at the end of the day with everything he did. And, you know, Tatum and Brown both talked about that. It wasn't always smooth sailing with him as teammates, Brown especially. And, you know, when I asked him before the game about the comments he said in Memphis, Jimmy, that really surprised me. I was surprised Brown put it out there as plainly as he did, that he couldn't stand Marcus at first, and then he learned to love him over time. And, you know, Matt Smart said tonight that was mutual. Like, they did not get along early on in their careers, and, you know, now they've called each other brothers. And you know, all the stories of Brown going down to Smart's mother's funeral and all that, and, you know, the way they keep in touch to this point, that you almost feel like one way or another, and Tatum obviously said it right after the trade happened, there could be a reunion down the line. Who knows how it is? Who knows in what capacity? But it feels like this is one of those things, much like Horford, that is gonna come back around. And maybe it's years and years down the line here. I don't think it's anything imminent, but there feels like there's a connection that is gonna push some motivation.
Retirement home somewhere.
Circle
Yeah,
back
maybe
around.
they end up in the same place.
Yeah. And Horford said, like, this was the first step for him, given his own experience moving on from Atlanta and being in a couple different spots. This return home is the important step, really the first step, he called it, to actually moving on. And it's going to be difficult. I mean, they're in a rough spot, Jimmy. It seemed like one of the big things Brad said, obviously, right when he made the trade, was we're sending him to a good place. Like, he's going to be able to win here. He's going to be happy here. And, you know, I think everybody catching up with him today felt that he's in a good place, that he's happy, that he's at ease with what went down. And he expressed that too. But it really starts like
last year. Yeah,
it looks like they're starting from square one to a large degree here.
I mean, it's unfortunate that it happened for him, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So next year, you know, they got to trust front office to get things back in order. And yeah, they need some luck too. I mean, injuries happen, and what happened to John Morant sucks. You know, straight up, nobody saw that coming. And when he came back to the team, Bobby, they were rolling. They were rolling, and things were looking good for them. And it just,
that's what their coach said pregame. They were finally getting it together, and then it just all fell apart. I mean, it's not even an exaggeration. Everybody's hurt on that team. Everybody.
Yeah,
every single player,
including the defensive player of the year.
They had 13 players on the injury report tonight.
It really is something that I've never seen before. And Sherrod, I mean, you've watched a lot of basketball. I can't imagine you've seen a team with a roster that looked that much like it didn't belong on an NBA court.
No, I mean, you don't see this.
What it is,
You only see this in the preseason.
How many players did you Google? How many players did you Google, Sherrod? Be honest.
I'm not going to answer that question.
Oh man,
I'm not going to answer that question.
Welcome to my
Bobby
life.
and I look at each other like, yo, who's this?
Yeah. Seriously.
What's his name? Like, crazy.
It's not even. I hate to say it's not even really worth looking up some of these guys' names, man.
Yeah.
But good for them. I mean, hey, great for those guys to get that opportunity, and whatever happens, whatever. That's as much as we're going to talk about the Grizzlies situation. But there is another team that deserves our attention and our discussion, because some breaking news tonight as Woj announced that Joel Embiid, Woj, I'm sure amongst a number of other reporters announced that Joel Embiid will undergo surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his left knee. There is no timetable for his return, but they are not expecting, and this is just, I would say that, and they're not expecting him back anytime soon. And I think, Bobby, I think you tweeted that you think he's done for the year.
I think he's going to miss the season. The prognosis, as Dr. Flynn and others have written, for meniscus repair surgery is at least 6 months. I don't know why they're being vague in their characterization of the injury here. I'm sure.
Did they say torn?
They described it as a displaced flap, and every medical expert on Twitter,
it's just semantics,
everywhere else is saying that's a tear. And if repair, and again, this is being reported in a couple of different places that the surgery is going to be repair here, that is a long-term absence. And
you're talking about a guy who has had a long history of issues with his lower extremities, his knees and legs and stuff. So it's devastating to them, absolutely devastating.
Yeah, man, especially because you think about the last 3 years, and I feel like everyone sort of had this thing in the back of their mind where it's just like, when's that next injury going to happen? Because, it's just historically, that's just what happens with bigs, right? Especially when they have a history, when they're super young. I mean, his rookie season was delayed because of foot problems. Like, you just sort of can see.
Missed his first 2 years, Josue.
2 years, that's right. You can just kind of see, like, okay, this guy's not going to have one of those 15, 16-year careers, but how much is he going to, once he hits his prime, which clearly he's in right now, how are the Philadelphia 76ers going to take advantage of that? And I'm starting to wonder if we're coming towards the end of that window, that MVP window, if you will, where he was a candidate.
It's the wear and tear.
He won it last year, and it's like, man, like how many years is, of high level MVP caliber basketball is left in Embiid after this?
Bigs don't get to age gracefully. They never get to age gracefully. It's always, or I should say more times than not, some type of physical ailment that derails what otherwise would be an impressive career. And Joel, unfortunately, you get the sense that may be the path that he's starting to go down right now with this injury. And for Philly, it's a devastating blow because this was one of the better teams that you've had in recent years that actually looked like a team that could make a little noise, that could do a little something. That ain't happening without Joel. You can still win some games, but you're not going to go far in the playoffs without him. You're not built for that.
No, it's a damn shame. I mean, it feels like they've been unable to just put a championship caliber team around Embiid at the same time he's been able to be healthy. And last year, obviously, he had just an unreal season.
That was the closest they got.
Can't expect him to be putting those numbers up just to almost get by, just to get to the second round of the playoffs. He has to put together a historically good season. And it's just too bad that they weren't able to find the right pieces listen, when I say it's too bad, I'm not losing any sleep over it. It's too bad for them. I don't give a rat's ass what happens, what good things happen to the 76ers. But I will say that it is a shame to almost waste the talent.
No one thought you did, Jimmy, but
it never crossed our minds, Jimmy.
Yeah, I want to make it very clear that I don't give a rat's ass about the 76ers.
It's such a nice guy.
Yeah. But you never want to see anyone get hurt. And certainly, I love to see huge fan of greatness, hot take. All the greats, I want to see them play at their peak as long as they can. That's why I was pissed that LeBron and Anthony Davis didn't play on Thursday. I want to see those guys come in here, and I want to see a good match. People pay a lot of good money, and they have a lot of interest in, these are historically great players.
We want to see Smart, Morant.
Wanted to see Smart too, of course. Yeah, another historically great player in Bobby's mind. But that is just the reality of it. So the Celtics maybe catch a little bit of a break. I mean, the Sixers now, just checking out the standings, what are they, 5th or 6th? They're 5th in the standings.
It's tight in the middle, and this
Pacers are right behind them, and they could end up. Now you're looking at
This is probably the team that played you toughest this year.
Yeah, Pacers on the come up.
You're saying maybe Boston, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Knicks, and Indy are going to be like your top 5 teams, assuming the Sixers kind of slip a little bit here. Which again, they give them credit. They had a hell of a win. I think it was Saturday night or Friday night against was it Utah? anyways, hell of a win without Embiid, but they just can't keep
They'll
that
be in the mix.
going.
They'll survive, but the upside and the threat to Boston isn't quite there as it was before. And they'll reshape their play. I'm sure they'll go smaller. I'm sure they'll use Harris a bunch more, who can be formidable if he's propped up in the offense there. And they have plenty of ammunition to make a move. Now, who's out there in terms of centers? Clint Capella could potentially be available if they send out the money. Is that what they want to go all in on here? That's the tough decision they're going to have to make. Do they want to still try to compete this year, or do you kind of take that step back and say next year we're going to go all in? And that might be what they prefer to do here, especially since they have more assets this summer. So this is potentially your biggest threat in the East that is out of the picture now here. So it is big news. And of course, they're not ruling him out. I saw that aspect of the report here too. They believe he could return at some point this season. But again, if there's a repair,
one of those if they get to the second round of the playoffs, maybe he comes back.
The
sort
finals,
of thing,
something like that.
Exactly,
so you're looking at Cleveland now. You're looking at New York. You're looking at Milwaukee if they can turn things around under Doc here. But this is as much of a sign as ever that the East is wide open for the Celtics to take control of now, and that shows in the standings here too. They built quite a large lead on the 1 seed over the number 2 Knicks or number 2 Cavs, whoever it is at this point, Bucks. So there's a runway of the finals here, Jimmy, and they have to take it. And tonight was, even though the competition on the other side was as bad as you can imagine, the fact that they took care of business as smoothly as they did here in this one, Tatum with a great game, bench guys stepping up, moving on from that bad Lakers loss. It was good. And again, you have winnable games rest of the week. Hawks, Wizards, and the Heat again on Sunday. So keep building on that standing. Hawks on Wednesday.
Next? Hawks on Wednesday.
Last game before the trade deadline.
Yeah. That's
all right.
True.
We'll talk about we'll do a little trade deadline prediction after Wednesday night's game, but I think we've gone long enough, guys. Hour and a half tonight. I want to thank everybody for jumping on. Sherrod, Josue, Bobby, the big three reporting live from the TD Garden. Where else are you going to get this type of coverage? Again, we want to thank.
Hey, Jimmy, that's Sherrod's podcast, actually, but.
That's true. Yeah, we're.
But appreciate you though.
I wasn't complaining about that.
Well, you guys are my big three. How about that? But shout out to Sherrod's podcast as well.
Yo, you heard that, John?
All these three guys.
No, he did not.
Yeah. No way he's watching this.
John, who's John? Yeah, John's not on this show, so he's not. He will not be.
Jimmy John podcast coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon. But catch Sherrod
on. Seen this for 4 years.
It's coming. Just keep waiting. Sherrod's got his podcast. Josue's got his. Bobby's got his. You can find them all on CLNS. Again, we want to thank our sponsor, FanDuel Sportsbook. Get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. You want to go to FanDuel.com/Boston. And guys, do it this week because the Super Bowl is in a week. You're going to want to have that bonus bet money available to make, you can make $201 prop bets if you want. I wouldn't suggest going about it that way, but certainly you could. A lot of different ways to go with it. But again, thank you to FanDuel. Thanks to everybody who watched us wherever you are, at home, on the road. Want to thank just want to say thanks. How about that? We're all thankful. Sunday night, Celtics win. What is the here we go. 131-91 Celtics over the Grizzlies. And we will see you guys all Wednesday. Oh, wait a second. We got an outro, don't we? Where's this outro? Here we go. Boom. Outro. Peace. Wait, Amit's got an outro for us, I think.
No, he doesn't.
He said he was going to work on an outro.
He had a phenomenal game.
Phenomenal game.
Horford's out. I think it's an option. That did not sound like a chair.
It was a freaking chair. It does sound like a chair.